Hi there, and welcome to another podcast for Grey Golfers. And today, I'm pleased to say that even on these strange times, we've managed to set up a podcast with Head of Golf Mizuno EMEA, which is Rob Jackson. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
I'm good, Stu. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. In these strange times, these
Yes.
COVID times, how are you finding things?
Yeah. Well, it's as you say, strange times. It's lockdown number 3 now, isn't it? So, but this one seems to be a bit longer. But the golf trade seems to be very resilient. People love playing golf, so I'm sure once we're through this, people will be out itching to play again and getting back on the golf course. So yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Looking forward to that again.
Well, tell me about it. And I bet it's been a bit strange for you, seeing as I know that your factory's up in Scotland and your headquarters is in England. So has that been a bit tricky for you?
Yeah, a little bit to start with. So our office is based down in Winnosh near Reading, down in Berkshire, but our assembly factory is in Scotland, in Cumbernauld. So we made the decision quite quickly to close the factory because basically the way we work out there is it's based on a Japanese process called Kaizen. So the machines are very close together, the staff are very close together, and it's all to do with maximum efficiency of moving the parts, the club parts, quickly between every person on the line, if you like, for maximum efficiency. So obviously when the first lockdown came, that sort of all went out the window. So we had to close the factory down, move all the machines away, put the screening around, etc., to make it safe for everyone. So, and then the Scottish government was slightly different to what the English government was saying with regards to come back to work. So yeah, it presented its challenges. But we overcame it. We were closed for about 7 weeks, but during that time, particularly from continental Europe, some of those countries stayed open, and Scandinavia in particular, the golfers' season was booming there. So we had a lot of orders to catch up on. And I have to say, ever since middle of May, the golf demand for Mizuno product has been phenomenal, really. So yeah, very pleased with how it's gone, considering. Middle of April, we were looking at virtually nothing, no sales on the books. To suddenly, we had a really strong year in 2020. In fact, a record year. We just sort of finalising the numbers now. We had a record year. So,
good.
Yeah, so it shows that golf is strong. People want to play golf, and the brand is in a very strong position as well at the moment, which is very pleasing.
Yeah, but that's always very good to hear. So just before we sort of go into your product and things like that, let's have a quick talk about you and how long you've been with Mizuno and your journey with them.
Christ, yeah. It's a long time, Stu. I've been with Mizuno 21 years now. I joined in December 1999. That's when we first met.
That's right.
I was a sales rep in the southeast, so you were down at Lyd Golf Club in Kent.
That's it. Well remembered.
So I did 4 years on the road as a rep, and then I did a marketing diploma, Chartered Institute of Marketing, to get off the road really, because I didn't fancy being a rep for the rest of my days, and went into the marketing department, and then did some sales and marketing, took over the Scandinavia division, etc. And then about 5 years ago, we merged everything together. So I was always on the UK side for golf, and now we're EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. So everything's together. So I sort of run that in terms of overseeing the sales and the marketing and the production facility up in Scotland. But I have a very strong team underneath me, so I just let them go on with it really, and just give them a little bit of direction, and off we go. So we're all one big happy family in Mizuno in terms of one Europe, all working together. That's good. All for the same goal, and it's touch wood, it's all going pretty well at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, you seem pretty happy with things, which obviously is quite good. Okay, so Grey Golfers, and I know I've explained to you a little bit about it. So Grey Golfers, we set up the podcast on YouTube. It was sort of on the back of me actually having a custom fit with my new set of Mizunos, and as I said, I went from having stiff shaft for the last 25 years to actually being fitted for regular shafts, which I couldn't believe. Then went out and played with them, and I hit the ball further than I've done in years. And that sort of got me thinking the fact that, okay, if that happens to me, then this can happen to a lot of other golfers as they get slightly older and slightly greyer. And we need to look at equipment and that. Now, Mizuno is definitely known as the players' club. I think it was like once you fit Mizuno, you never go to anything else because they are beautiful. But your range is bigger and better than that these days. And it does cater for not just the good players, but for the ladies and the senior golf as well, or as I like to call them, the grey golfers. So what in your range is good for the grey golfers, and how can you see your stuff helping them?
Yeah, we have, just speaking about irons, we have a wide range of irons. So we have the MP brand and the JPX brand. So, typically MP has been aimed at sort of the better golfer, and JPX has been the sort of game improvement brand. But there's a bit of crossover there in that the new HMB, the hot muscle blade, is a very forgiving MP iron, if you like, and the JPX Tour is more aimed at the better player. So there's a bit of crossing sector in the middle there. But generally speaking, we have sort of seven models in the range. And we alternate the MP and JPX launches. So every year you will have irons that can suit pretty much players of all abilities. But I think what's unique to Mizuno from a custom fitting perspective is we have the swing DNA. So we have what's called a shaft optimizer, and the shaft optimizer doesn't know who's swinging it. So there's no this preconceived idea that if you're a lady, you need a lady shaft. If you're a grey golfer, for example, you need a senior shaft, etc. So it will measure your swing characteristics in terms of ball speed, but more importantly, how your swing loads the shaft throughout the swing. So, and that can then determine what shafts you need. So when you said there, you had regular shafts and previously been stiff, it might well be there are some very, if you like, stiff regular shafts, and there's some more flexible stiff shafts. So it would almost match the weight of the shaft to how you swing the golf club. So the swing DNA is a very unique thing there. So, but and as I said, it doesn't know who's swinging it, so it will give you a very
honest opinion.
Answer, like. Yeah. And then, as you say, as everyone gets a bit older, then we lose a bit of elasticity in the muscles, and the back hurts a bit more than it used to, and the muscles ache a bit more. So I think, generally speaking, as we do get older, we cannot generate the club head speed as much as we used to. And then the fitting and the equipment that we would recommend. We'll probably take that into effect. You might see, if you're buying a set of irons for the next 5 years or so, we would take that into effect. So there's lots of factors which go into recommendation, but it all starts with getting the swing DNA right, so that we know that the shaft we're recommending, along with the head design for your playing ability, is sort of right for you, your needs currently, but also the next 2-3 years or however long you're thinking of buying a set of irons for. And that also has repercussions, because that then from there it can recommend a starting point for your woods.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So the swing DNA really is the start of everything. It can recommend a set makeup, and it's measuring all sorts of things like angle of attack, for example, for hybrids, to make sure you've got your hybrids matched, and also your wedges as well. So it's a good start to if you're thinking of considering getting fitted for Mizuno irons. We'll start with the irons, and then we can add to either side of the bags with the wedges and the woods. Yeah, no,
I mean that was one thing that I found, that it did. I've never had so many woods in my bag as well. I mean, I think my longest iron is a 5 iron at the moment, but I might pull that out and only go with 6.
And that's been a trend which has been coming. The irons have strengthened over the years. So what is now, we've still got a number 4 on it, but probably back in our day, when 20 years ago, we were probably a 2 iron.
Exactly.
So, and the pitching wedge is now sort of, but almost where an 8 iron used to be. So the gap wedges and the wedges part of the bag is coming in, and also the hybrids and the fairy woods are taking up more of that end of the bag. Although with Mizuno being predominantly an iron company, we are looking at that as well. So we have JPX fly highs, which are the same length and Liaison iron, so we call them the DLRs, the direct long iron replacements.
Okay.
So you can have those in your bag, which are very useful clubs. So they've got a wood type or hybrid type shaped head on them, but the length and the lie of the shaft is very much like it would be for a long iron. So that's there. And then with the new launches coming out, we're looking to sort of beef up the long iron offering as well. So if you do prefer, a lot of golfers still like the old long irons, but we're making them as easy to hit as we can, with a wider offering on the shaft front to suit all needs. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the development and so on, to adapt to all players' needs.
And I also noticed that you've got the newer wedges out that have helped move the sweet spot more into the centre of the club, which is a great idea, isn't it?
We launched the EF21 series only in September, so that's been something which has been on the cards. I remember doing testing on that maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The initial thinking about that was to get a more a wedge which was more helpful for bad lies, to try and get you out of some of those lies you found around the green. So they found that moving the centre of gravity up into the centre of the club was a big help there, which allows you to mould the head shape slightly differently. So if you're looking at it from the back, it looks in certain areas there's a lot of weight redistributed compared with a traditional wedge, but from the playing address position, it still looks like a Mizuno. Not a bladed wedge, but it looks like a player's wedge, if you like. But you've got a lot going on behind, which you can see. But yeah, it's an excellent wedge, particularly if your short game isn't quite as what it used to be, to help with help spin the ball.
Yeah, no, I've got those wedges in my bag, and I love them. I mean, I think that to say that, I mean, I think they look as good as the other ones. I mean, because I'm very much a cosmetic.
21 with the all black finish and the black shaft. And I think the beauty about Mizuno's wedges is they are grain flow forged, so the same technology which goes into making our irons feel great and consistent off the club face carries through into all of our wedges. They're all grain flow forged. The T20 series, the S21, they're grain flow forged, which means you get that same feel, and more importantly, the same distance and dispersion benefits of a forged iron. So I think in the short game, that's where you really need that benefit, that softness, that feel, and that consistency of the ball coming off the club in a consistent way. So yeah, the Mizuno wedges are a very strong category for us, and it's quite nice to see that ES21 come in as more of a. We don't do a gap wedge in that, interestingly, because that really is the benefit for the gap and the lob wedges, if you like. So it's in the old days when we used to say we'd launch an S wedge, it would have cannibalised the T wedges, because people would have seen it as a new wedge. So it's more of an extension of the wedge offering as opposed to a direct replacement for what we've already got.
Right. So the brand's sort of grown massively, hasn't it, to try to accommodate every sort of level of golfer, not just the good players.
I think you're right. I mean, we do everything. I mean, that's the beauty about Mizuno is I know every brand's probably known for something, isn't it? So Mizuno's strength has always been irons and wedges off the back of that. But we do, we often do woods. We bought the putters out now, the M-Craft putters. Footwear is we're back in with the footwear. And Mizuno is a global sports company. We do footwear for pretty much every single sport you can think of. So that's a huge part of our business. We do clothing, we do gloves, we do golf balls, we do bags, we do accessories. So we do pretty much the whole range, apart from sort of trolleys, I guess, under the same Mizuno umbrella. So it's and it's. As I say, because we don't distinguish between we don't have lady-specific clubs or anything like that. It's all done by the swing DNA. So the heads that a lady golfer or a senior golfer will put into their golf clubs are exactly the same heads that Luke Bonald will play on tour. So we don't differentiate that way. It's the same head.
So it's the shaft. So the DNA gives the right shaft to the right golfer to load up to get the most power and the most forgiveness and sort of distance and accuracy from, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we don't. So and to say the heads are all the same, they're all the same heads. But yeah, with the tour truck, they might do certain different grinds. Particularly on the wedges. So certain pros like more specific grinds. So the guys can grind the wedges in a slightly different way there, which is different. And there'll be some shafts on the tour truck there, which we might not do for our normal custom order program because they're quite niche.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the product which we make is for the tour players is the same stuff that every golfer can buy. And the swing DNA just helps you choose because there's so much to choose from. I mean, God, the heads we do, all the shafts we do, all the grips we do, and everything like that. So the swing DNA really dials it down to give you based on your swing characteristics. These are the
perfect one for you.
Go to try and we work on that. Yeah, so it's a great fitting tool and. Obviously, I would say this, but I recommend everyone to start there as their starting point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one thing I will say as well is that your driver. I mean, you're not known for making drivers, but I got your one, and it must have gone 20, 30 yards longer. No word. So you finally got a great one out there.
I think that we've always made fantastic drivers. There's no doubt about that. But I think the perception may have been that. When it comes to the tour, we've always been very focused on making sure that our players play the irons. So we've often had 9 or 10 club minimum club contract. So it's left the driver and the fairway wood, if you like, at the putter free for players. And it's always been a case of, well, if we get the irons nailed down, then we'll work with them on the driver. But we've changed that a little bit now. We've got, Brooks Koepka, for example, he's one of our non-contracted players. Yeah. He was a guy who put the JPX Tour irons in the bag through choice. We don't actually pay him anything to do that, so he's done it by choice. So
that's great.
So what we decided to do then is, if we've got any contract players now going forward as a sort of a global direction, they've got to play the driver. So it's therefore put the driver out there as to the tour to say we're serious about the product. The product's good because it'll always match up against anything out there. But now we're sort of saying to our tour players that we're serious about this and we want you to play it as part of your contract. And by and large, everyone has taken it up. So Luke Donald is in the driver, Chris Kirk is in the driver, Keith Mitchell is in the driver.
We've
got a French guy, Adrien Sadier, who's we've got big hopes for.
Yeah, he's good.
So now when you see a Mizuno, bag and Mizuno clubs on tour, you will see the Mizuno driver in there. So, and I think that then spirals down into retail world. With the pros we're calling on, they're now seeing that it's more serious. So they're a bit more confident to stock it and push it. But the performance is there, no doubt about that. And,
it is. Second, now I was very, very. I love the arms, but the driver I was really impressed with. I have to say.
Yeah, and again, there, go back to the grey golfer. We've got 3 different heads now. So we have the G head where you've got the weight adjustability, which is a great piece, a great driver to have if you want to, if you want to tinker, shall we say, you want to put a bit more fade bias, a bit more draw bias, or a bit more higher law launch. You can use the weight system there. We've got the new Z driver coming out, which is quite a neutral driver in terms of that. So if you don't really like tinkering around, you just want a good-looking, clean driver, we've got the Z. And then we've got the X driver. So that's an interesting product. That's coming more from the Japan and the Korean market,
right?
Where perhaps they want a bit more effective loft on the driver, so it helps get the ball up in the air. A bit more draw bias on it to stop the the old cut to the right, which was prone to hit every now and again. So that's come in as more of a from the Japanese Korea market, which those sort of golfers like over there. That's come into the Western market, and just goes to show that there's golfers on tour who like that. So Chris Kirk is one of our players. He put the X driver into the bag, and you never would have really sort of thought that,
No.
He didn't have the fitting. So we've got 3 heads there, and again, all those 3 heads can cater for any level of golfer, any ability, any gender, and any age. If we're talking about, the older guys there, there's 3 heads to choose from, and we can get the right shaft and head combination to suit what you're after.
Good. Okay, so that's great. So what we're saying is that everything in Mizuno can accommodate great golfer. We sort of should add, doesn't mean you're old and slow and anything else like that, because there's plenty of older boys that knock it miles past me these days. But the DNA will give them the perfect fitting, and that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, I think we don't prejudge anything, so it's not a case, as I said earlier, if you're a senior, you're a senior flex. I think that's very, you don't do that at all. We go into every fitting with a, our experienced fitters, they've fitted so many people, they've got a fair good idea, but it will always be an open mind.
Yeah.
Start with the swing DNA, and then we can work from there. And it just helps validate, the reason why you're choosing something, So it's a great piece of kit.
Oh, good. And how do things going forward? Obviously, got another strange year ahead of us. Do you see golf being busy again, like I suppose it was in the end last year, or?
Well, we're certainly getting. All of our sales teams have done what we call the pre-book for next season. So they've been out, and our retail partners are very confident. Put down that we've had strong pre-books across all categories.
Okay.
So it's created a bit of a headache because we've now got to try and find some more product than we thought, because it's taken us all a bit by surprise. I think the popularity in the brand and the willingness, I guess, of the retailers to pre-book the product, because there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
Yeah, of course.
But they're pretty confident to put the orders down, which helps, and which means we can go in to the factories and up the orders if we can.
Yeah. So
we're looking forward to a good year. In a way, if we are in lockdown and it sort of delays the start of the season for a month, it's not necessarily a bad thing, really, because it just gives us a chance to play a bit of catch up.
Yeah.
If everyone's knocking on the door for an early start to the season in February, then it's quite hard to speed the boats up, So
well, of course, especially at the moment.
If it's if it is delayed by a month, it's not the end of the world. As long as we have a nice autumn. Because I think the last couple of years, especially in the UK, we've had some decent weather going straight into October, November. So the season has been prolonged. And you never know, with the Ryder Cup now this year and the Olympics, if it goes ahead, I mean, that's doubtful at the moment from what I'm reading. But you might have that surge in the autumn, which will extend the season, which is good for everyone. Yeah.
Oh, good. So good news for Mizuno Head and the brand getting stronger and stronger. So with that in mind, can I nick a prize off you for a competition, Rob?
You may, Stuart. Yeah, sure.
So we'll what can we scrounge off you to do a prize?
We'll put up one of our tour cart or tour stand bags.
Okay, lovely.
So top of our range there in terms of the bags, but we don't want to. If you're a cart player, you might want a cart bag. If you're a carrier, you can go for a stand. So we'll put a tour cart and a tour stand. Two colours there, the staff and the black and grey colour. So there's a bit of choice there.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is we'll set a number of subscribers on our channel, and when we get to that number, we'll do a draw of all the subscribers, and we'll notify the lucky winner. That's very kind, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so just let me know who wins, and we'll sort everything our end.
Perfect, Rob. That's been very kind of you to come on and do a podcast with us and have a chat. We wish you all the best this year. Hope you have a busy year and things are good for the future.
Yeah, pleasure to catch up as always, Stuart. So good luck with it all.
Cheers, Rob. Take care, mate.
Thanks. Cheers.